Welcome back to the PBC. It's your boy PBK9s giving it to you fair, unbiased, raw, and uncut. Some gonna like it and some ain't. Some gonna like it and some ain't. Some folk liked that live last night and some didn't. No matter how many say they loved it, you had a few out there that it ruffled some feathers. You know what I'm saying? Big salute to all the brothers and sisters that were rocking with me in the live last night. Special shout out, big special shout out to the brother Mad Doctor, my bro, giving us that history lesson, taking us back into time to talk about some of these old school bloodlines. You know what I'm saying? Um, big salute to you again, Mad Doctor. And you heard the brother Mad Doctor say he needed just a few more subscribers. So go to his channel on YouTube, subscribe to his channel, and get that good talk, man. Get that good talk. Cause the brother giving it to you, fair and unbiased. He giving it to you raw and uncut as well. You know what I'm saying? Salute to them brothers and sisters down in the chat. Everybody that's watching this video, no matter where you at. I always say I got a lot of brothers that drive them trucks that just be listening to me. A lot of times they don't watch, they just listen. Big salute to them brothers, them sisters. I got sisters that be driving truck. Big salute to everybody, man, that be rocking with the Bay and watching me. You know what I'm saying? Whether you think it's just entertainment or you're getting some knowledge from it. Big thank you to everybody. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button before you get up out of here if you like the content that you get. You know, and let's just roll on into it, man. Um, Now I want to start by addressing one topic that me and Mad Doctor was talking about last night. Uh, and it was he was asking me about did I know any historical black brothers with the dogs? You know what I'm saying? And I had to sit back and analyze, at least, and that's why I wanted to speak about this now. I had to analyze, kind of what we was talking about and things like that, and kind of clear it up on my end, for the question the brother asked me. Now, you from the D, Mad Dollar, salute to you again. You from the D. So in the D, you're gonna have a heavily African American population compared to where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna say this, and I'm a good bit of many years younger than you is. So you experience more stuff at a earlier, I'm gonna say like in the 70s and the 80s and all that type of stuff when I was just born in 79. So I wouldn't start experiencing things until, I always wanted dogs, but when it come to the pit bulls, and I remember this as a timeline, the White Fang movie when you had the brindle dog that was in there fighting against the wolf. That was my era. That's when I was a young boy. Like, damn, look at them dogs. You know what I'm saying? Um, the New York Undercover movie. You remember the show that used to come out, New York Undercover? They had the pit bull episode with the dog named My Man. You know what I'm saying? That's my era when I was a young buck in elementary school and middle school and stuff like that, and trying to get the pits and all that. My first dog was a German Shepherd. Had them for throughout my elementary school years, and I got my first mixed breed pit bull when I was in the middle school. You know, um, and that probably was like late middle school years. You know, um, and the thing was, when I got that dog, I never seen that dog lock. Never seen him lock or none of that type of stuff. And I went from that dog was more like a family dog. You know, when I got my own pit bulls, I was kind of like maybe I'm gonna say the going into the 10th and 11th grade. You know what I'm saying? Going into the 10th and 11th, and that's when I started experiencing the real deal stuff. Now, this is what I want to say when it comes to black and white and all that different type of stuff with the dogs. You know, I'm just in an area where a lot of the connects was. Your red boy stuff. I'm not in the area where a lot of brothers had red boy dogs. I'm in the area where red boy himself came from. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm saying I want to shop with the white brothers or I want to shop with the black brothers. I want to shop with who got the best dogs. You know what I'm saying? Um, it didn't matter to me the color. I wanted to shop with the brothers who had the best dogs. And the first dogs uh, that I ran across happened to be some of that Cottonham Sheba stuff and Red Boy Jocko and your Red Boy dogs. ran across that at a very young age, and I was blessed to run across them dogs. This is before the Big John stuff. This is before the Crossroads stuff. Ran across that Cottonham Sheba and them Red Boy dogs. And I seen how, and that's why I say to this day, I never in my life to this day seen any puppies as ill, as good as them particular puppies that was coming down off that Cottonham Sheba stuff, and this was before the dog Rocky was born. You know what I'm saying? At least around that same time, if it wasn't before. This wasn't nowhere near the 2000s. You know, um, when I say we had puppies that you can have a dog, I'm gonna say halfway down the street, full grown dog. These dogs were puppies, 3 and 4 months old, 5 months old, slender. They was slender. They wasn't no real fat puppies. They was skinny and tall. If these puppies seen any animal, but I'm saying dog, any dog was in their vision, it didn't matter how far they was. You can let them loose. It was no grabbing them around the back, going sk, sk, and all that type of stuff like that. These were the illest puppies that I seen today. I done bred some dogs, and I seen dogs that eat each other in litters. The litters eat each other, but that can't compare to these puppies that I'm talking about. You know, can't compare, man. Those were the illest puppies I seen to this day. You can let any grown dog go, not grown dog, you can let them see any grown dog from any distance as long as they can see it and let them go. And they're going to run full throttle, not no playing, full throttle and scratching to that dog. Now they might get their ass whipped because they're only puppies, but you weren't going to stop them from scratching into that dog at least the first time. Now, I never let them get into a dog that would curb him out, because if I let a 4-month-old dog go on a year-old dog and the dog was started up, he would curb a small puppy out with ease. I never did that, you know. But when I say those puppies were the illest I ever seen, man, I would go in my house. My mama would be at work, you know. And this was, like I said, around about, about 10th grade or somewhere in that area. My mama would be at work, and I had a Shar-Pei mix dog, mixed with a Shar-Pei and Pit. A big salute to my brother, Big Wooly. Again, I got that one from Big Wooly back in the days. This was a Shar-Pei Pit mix. Willie told me it was off the tank. Willie, you told me it was off tank now, but I don't know. I ain't here to talk about that. If y'all know Big Willie, you know the dog Tank he had back in the days. If you don't know Tank, you're a little too young to be in this conversation, but you can listen to what we're talking about. But anyway, I had the Shar-Pei Pit, and I used to bring him in the house just to see that Red Boy Jocko dog scratch in my room. I put the Shar-Pei on one side of the room, and I let that little pit bull puppy scratch. It ain't no shaking his face. It ain't no making no noise, no none of that. Soon as I let him go, a dog his size, he have him in there screaming and hollering, shaking him like a full-grown dog. I never to this day seen no puppies like that. Not saying you haven't. I see brothers post stuff on Facebook all the time. That ain't what I'm talking about. These dogs you have scrapping on Facebook, a lot of them, y'all making them fight. A lot of them, they once they get out of range of that dog, they're not gonna show no aggression towards that dog no more. These puppies here, if they saw them, I named mine Kilo. If they saw the puppy with their eyes, they were gonna hit them. I did tests with the puppies. I got my homeboy to stand across the street in his yard, way across the street in his yard, and I get in my yard and I let Kilo go. You know, anybody that know my brother Big Wooly, if you remember that dog he had named Bowleg back in the days, that's the litter of puppies I'm talking about. The puppies are Bowleg litter. He had Bowleg, I had my dog named Kilo, and it was 2 more off that litter. But they wasn't good as, the owners didn't raise them as good as Bowleg and Kilo was raised. Let them dogs go, man, and hit them from across the road. And like I said, I was young during that time. I messed up a lot of good dogs. You know what I'm saying? And that particular dog there, how he died, I put him in a show against a dog. He was done wore down. He wasn't even a year old yet. Matter of fact, he might have been just over a year. He might have been just over a year. you know, because I end up letting my brother Big Willie get the dog, and I end up getting the dog back from Big Willie a little bit after he turned a year old, or maybe about a year and a half or something like that. And then I wore him down again, and then I took him out in the woods and put him in a death match. What we call death matches. We was having death matches back then. Whoever lose, it don't make no difference how they lost, and I'm talking about young fellas. It didn't make no difference how they lost. You had to put the bullet to them. You know what I'm saying? And I lost probably, other than Sambo, that was one of the best dogs that I had. That should have been, I should have sat on that dog and just bought him out as an adult dog, as an older dog. That's what I should have did. And you know that once you get older, you make a lot of mistakes when you're young, and you think you know this, you think you know that, you know. So my dog ended up losing in a way that really wasn't a loss, and I put a bullet to him. You know, that particular dog, I two dogged them back to back. I put them on one dog, and a brother had a gray pit bull. That's why I say I seen gray pit bulls back in the early and mid 90s. You know what I'm saying? I ain't talking about no bullies. I'm talking about pit bull terriers. You know, and he was kind of scared of the pit bull at first, the gray dog. So what I did, I knew once I put him on something and he gets started up, all he got to do once he gets started up is see the gray dog, and then I let him go. So that's what I did. I started him up on one dog for about 5 or 10 minutes. I let the gray dog come over there. You know, he seen the gray dog, and I let him go into the gray dog. He bust that motherfucker ass. You know, but later on down the line, like I said, I end up putting him down because of a stupid rule that we made. If your dog lose, you got to put him down. At that age that at the age that I was, I didn't know the rules of the dog game the way I knew the rules of the dog game in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? So I know I put down a dog for nothing. You know what I'm saying? But to make a long story short, uh, a lot of the brothers, it wasn't a black or white thing when it came to the dogs with me back in them days. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the brothers, like I said, the connects, the brothers who had the Big John stuff, the brothers who had the Fatty, the Toe Jam, dogs coming straight off of Grand Champion Yellow. These brothers was white, just by coincidence. And I have no thing against no particular color of person. And like I always tell brothers, what me and my homeboys used to do is get in the car, load up, and just go riding, smoking. We riding all through the country looking for folk with barrels, looking for folk with dogs. We'll pull up in the yard and try to buy some pits from them. No funny dud stuff. It wasn't no stealing, no none of that. Trying to buy the pits from them. That's how I end up buying the dog from the brother with the crack. You know what I'm saying? That was a little bit later on down the line when I got the one with the crack, but it was still the same process. Riding around looking for dogs, riding in country areas you never knew of, looking for dogs. That's how I found the brother, the Pecan Man. That's how I found the brother Pecan Man. Uh, Riding around looking for dogs, and then we heard who had the dogs in this particular area. I would ride and stop at the gas stations. Oh, do you know Mr. Milton, or do you know this person? And some of them will tell you they know him and how to get there. And I end up finding Mr. Pecan Man. Sat down with him for a long time and talked to him, on his porch about dogs. He was out the game then. He was the one told me about he started with the alligator stuff, and he was showing me all his dogs and different things. And like I said, man, I never, for one, my parents didn't raise me like that to look at anybody different than me. Not saying that anybody was, or because we want to give props to the black dog brothers that you was raised different. I'm just saying when I was looking for the dogs, I looked at all of us the same. I didn't know uh how the race issue played a part in the dog game, maybe like it did back in them days. And being that I didn't look at it like that, it saved me from a lot of them thoughts. Um, just by default, the dog brothers that I was hanging with, as far as buying my dogs from, because I had dog brother friends, but I'm talking about the ones that had the pit bulls. You know, them was the white brothers. Now, I had bad experiences when I was dealing with older black brothers back in them days. I never met Mr. Vernon Whitley or Mr. Green that had Green Sandy, and I never met those brothers. But the brothers that I did meet on this North Carolina borderline, because that's where I stay at, on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. You know, I'm only 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away from the border of North Carolina, and South Carolina. So when we crossed that border, a lot of these brothers had Eli dogs. A lot of these brothers had all termite stuff, different bred, different ways. But the thing was, man, we had the Garner dogs before we had the yellow dogs. You know, getting them Frisco dogs, them black Frisco dogs and stuff like that from Mr. Tom Garner. And this was way before I got the Black Chance, the champion Black Chance dog, and them black females that he had. You know, these brothers had different dogs on the other border, but you know, the thing that changed the game for me is when I seen them Grand Champion yellow dogs that I was speaking about. Um, Champion Fatty, Little Mate's sister, Tammy, that bitch was so awesome. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted another kind of dog. I never seen dogs do this outside of that Red Boy Jocko stuff we had, but that wasn't the Grand Champion yellow dogs. Those were just Red Boy Jocko crosses, which were great dogs, But when I got them yellow dogs, man, it changed me. It changed the game for me. I seen dogs with size on them that couldn't be competed with. And when I go holler at my black older brothers in other places, I'm gonna tell you what they did to me. You know, and one brother sent me a dog. I sent my money by one of my neighbors that was older than me. The man sent me a dog that looked like he had been through a shredder. He was all cut up, ripped all up. Yeah, he telling me he'll go. But you telling me you gonna buy a dog that looked like he been through a shredder if you didn't see him go through the shredder? I had enough sense. I wasn't all the way hip to the game, but I had enough sense not to buy a dog that looked like that from a brother, knowing that if the dog was that good, you wouldn't have sold him to me. You only sold me this dog because the dog lost. You know what I'm saying? And then when I start going to some of these other brother yards, I didn't see the dogs that could beat the dogs. Once we start getting them yellow dogs, I didn't see dogs that can stand to the level of these dogs. Even with Mr. Garner dogs, they was high quality dogs. I said, yo, I might as well just keep buying the ones from Mr. Garner, keep shopping with Crossroad. You know what I'm saying? And when I tell you Crossroad was that motherfucker with them dogs, he was that motherfucker with them dogs. You know, yeah, everybody get beat, everybody win sometime, you know, but as a teenager, I was lucky to be in them situations, in them places. That's why I always say, man, it was just a blessing and in disguise that I was around these brothers. Just so happened, I happened to go to school with a brother, and I was in classes with a brother that stayed next crossroad, and he had one of the cards that had his dogs on it. That's why I get the idea from to make my little card, you know. That's where I get the idea from to make my little card with Sambo on it. Many years later, this was made, many years later after I seen Crossroad card. You know what I'm saying? That's where I got the idea from. So, once I start hollering at him, and he got the Jeep dogs, the Red Boy dogs, the all different kinds, man. He wasn't sat on one dog. But when he came down from New York, he was shopping. He was getting dogs from a brother named Mr. T from New York, you know, and he brought them dogs down. And those dogs weren't really high caliber like the dogs was that he got introduced to throughout the days. You know what I'm saying? Those dogs weren't on a high caliber. If you knew Crossroad, you remember the dog he had named Nico, the blind dog. You remember the dog he had named Shaka, the one that'll eat your ass up. He had on a long zip cord that'll run across one side of the yard to the other side of the yard that'll eat your ass up. You know, um, I had dogs off Shaka before. He never bred Nico to get dogs off Nico. He was just a big blind white dog with white color eyes that'll eat your ass up. What cool part that I used to like about Nico was he was blind, but like I said, I'm a teenager looking at things from a teenager point of view at the time. He was blind, but when Eric go up to him, he was just like a regular dog. He was calm, and I didn't see it that way. Like, okay, the dog can sense that this is his owner. Whether he got blind after Eric bought him or I doubt he was blind when he bought him. So He knew Eric's smell and his scent and all that, but somebody like me walk up, man, that dog would try to eat your ass up. And he was a big white dog, had his ears clipped, you know. But I was around these brothers, man. The brothers who got the red boy dogs and Mr. Bass family and all that. I was around them brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? Family members to Mr. Bass. I never knew Katie Marlowe until I got older, you know. But the circle that she ran, I knew them brothers. You know what I'm saying? Great brothers, and it didn't matter about color. I just wanted to win, and I wanted great dogs. You know what I'm saying? And I never switched. I always been a red boy Jocko man. My homeboy, he was getting the Frisco and the Chinaman stuff, and he was dealing with Tom Garner. I was still a red boy Jocko man. Once I got won over by that red boy Jocko shit, I was there to stay, and I ain't left since then. And I bought dogs from all different bloodlines. I had different kind of dogs, but my I was a red boy Jocko man, you know. Just like you might like all basketball players, but you was a Michael Jordan man, or you was a Larry Bird man, or you was a Magic Johnson man. But you might like, oh, Jordan good, he one of the best, Bird good, but they can't tell you shit about Magic Johnson. They can't tell you nothing about Kareem, or they can't tell you nothing about Scott Skiles or whoever you like. You know, that's how I was with the Red Boy Jocko stuff, man. And that's how I still am. And to this day, that's why I say I got over 30 some years in that bloodline of knowledge and dealing with them dogs. You know what I'm saying? I'm only 46 right now. I'll be 47 my birthday. I got 30 years in that dog, in them line of dogs, man. You know, I got over 25 years in the Big John line, dealing with them dogs. In the 90s, I had going on 30 years. In the 90s, I had a dog off, like I said, Champion Red John. And this was in the 90s. You know, uh, I messed him up as a young dog. He was just getting started up and he died in the hurricane. So I never really had a chance to tell how that dog was doing. But I had dogs off Yellow Sun, Toe Jam. I had dogs off him in the 90s. Couple dogs. Me and my old lady had an apartment, and the puppy that we had in that apartment was off Grand Champion Yellow Sun. His name was Tito, buckskin black mass dog. I ran him through hell, scratching him. When a dog start up early for a young buck, that's the worst thing that can happen. For a young buck, 16, 17, 18, that's the worst thing can happen. Because you don't know how to sit on these dogs, and you don't know the proper procedure to making a real, true soldier, warrior, game dog. But you think you do. You think you do. And I don't care who you is. You think you know it all, no matter how old you is, once you start dealing with them dogs. You know? So, like I said, man, I ruin a lot of dogs. You know what I'm saying? And I know I ruin them. And like I say, all that is just learning from your mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice. You know what I'm saying? Don't make the same mistake two times. And back in them days, we had plenty of money to blow. I don't got the 1,500, the 500. Even though we was paying cheaper for the dogs, you know what I'm saying? We ran through so many dogs. If I would have had just 25% of the dogs saved up that I had from back in the days, you know, man, I mean, I would have all the old school bloodlines up close and personal with the old school bloodlines on my yard. You know what I'm saying? So, I just wanted to clear that part up as far as the black dog man and the white dog man. I never looked at it no kind of way like that. I pulled up in some of the races. Now that I look back on it, some of the racist white brothers' yard, but I came with a clean heart. I didn't come with trouble on my mind. I didn't come to bring trouble. And these brothers probably can look at me and feed off my energy. You know, asking questions about the dogs. You never gonna get that type of living again. The way we used to do it back in them days, pulling up on anybody and brother welcome you in his yard and talk to you about his dogs on his yard. Them days are completely over, you know. But I had the chance to witness that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And all that stuff is stuff that I got stuck in my brain that I've been through. and times that like I know that I'll never be here again. So I use that to my advantage. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to getting the modern day dogs that I'm dealing with to a level that I want them on. You know what I'm saying? Um, and just so happened I was a little older when I did this, but I sat on one till he was well over 2 without putting one tooth in him. And you wouldn't believe that dog never had a tooth in him when you seen him go. When you see him go for the first time, the first 5 or 10 minutes I put him on that schooling, and he never been touched till he was well over 2 years old, you would have never thought that dog never been touched. You would have thought I done did that dog plenty times when he was 7, 8 months old, 9 months old, 10 months old, you know? And that's why I tell brothers, I seen dogs start up fully 3 and 4 months old. But when they get 9, 10, 11 months old, they don't want to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? They straight curring. I seen dogs that was started up at 2 or 3 months old, curring some yellow dogs out that was 3 months old, the same size they was, same age they was, but they was curring the yellow dogs out. Keep the yellow dogs till they got close to a year. Them same dogs wouldn't growl at them yellow dogs. Them yellow dogs was running through them motherfuckers. And like I said, uh, I'ma kind of stand on this. You know, when it comes to dogs that made change in the dog game, Grand Champion Yellow, I'm not saying he the only one, you know, but if you got 5 dogs, he gonna be in that top 5. That dogs that made a change. All right, let's go to it. Tudor's Dabo. Tudor's Dabo made a change in the dog game. Kobe's Dime made changes in the dog game. We talking about dogs that, you know, we see them in the pedigrees and the dog game changed because of these dogs. Grand Champion Yellow made a change in the dog game. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say Yellow made a change in the dog game more than Red Boy. But if it wasn't for Red Boy, you wouldn't have a Yellow. It's just so you can't leave Red Boy out of no talk. That's why I never understood. I understand how the rum list go and how you get your points for the rum list, but I never understood how Red Boy was never in top 5 of the rum list. He is the producer of producers. He is top echelon of the dogs. When you talk about the dogs from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you know, he is that. And because of the show that me and Mad Doctor did last night, you know, it lets me know that my information that I'm reading and researching and giving to y'all brothers, I'm on the right path because like me and Mad Doctor was talking about, and I told him when I did the research on brother Indian Sonny that had the Bolio dog, and I wanted to know what kind of breedings was he making with Bolio. You know, forget Pat Patrick. What kind of breedings was Indian Sonny making? He was making Bolio Eli breedings, you know, and I already seen that and I knew that. So when me and Mad Doctor talked last night and I seen how them brothers got them great dogs off of the Bolio Eli cross back in them days, I knew that, yeah, I was on the right path and giving brothers the right information when it came to the person that actually owned Bolio, not Mr. Pat Patrick, but the person who owned him. Where did he see fit to breed them dogs with? And where did he see the best dogs that was coming from Bolio back in them days? You know what I'm saying? The Eli Bolio, you know, cross that he was running. Now that don't mean you can go get a Eli dog and a Bolio dog now and run that and you're gonna get that. That's why I always say we can't rely on the dogs from the past, them same traits, unless you know that the dog was line bred, inbred, or somewhere or another, and they still possessing them same traits. That's why I always say, what Red Boy dogs, because it's more Red Boy dog lines out there other than Bailey's Bingo. What Red Boy dog still possess that trait, that reputation that Red Boy gave you? You gonna get you some gameness in your dog. Now brothers going to the Red Boy Jocko to get your gameness for your Eli or your gameness for your Bolio Rascal or whatever you got. They going to the Red Boy Jocko. So that's why I said, and another reason I said the Red Boy Jocko dogs is your or at least the Big John, not all Red Boy Jocko. Your Big John dog, your Big John Little John crosses made by the original Walkmall brothers are equivalent to your old school Red Boy dogs when it comes to being able to mix them with anything and start some good dogs from it. You know, start some good dogs from it. It don't mean that the Big John dogs are better than your old school Red Boy. It means those line of dogs can be put with any bloodline of dogs and keep you going on the right path. You won't be going down. I know a lot of dogs that I can mix with the Big John stuff, and it's gonna take from the Big John stuff. But I haven't seen the Big John dogs take away from other dogs. Not saying it won't. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm just speaking my opinion. I haven't seen a Bolio dog that you cross these Big John dogs to. Now the Bolio dogs aren't as good, you know. But I've seen other Red Boy Jocko dogs that you can mix these dogs with, and it takes from the dog. You know, all Red Boy Jocko dogs aren't the same. You know, and brothers add their little sauce here and there. They add the rascal here. They add this there. You know, I wasn't a big fan of the rascal dogs. You know what I'm saying? Because the rascal, Red Boy Jocko rascal, is some of the shit that I ran through. You know what I'm saying? So I really wasn't a big fan of it, but I wasn't against it either. Because the rascal dogs are really from the era of your Eli dogs, your rascal dogs, your Bolio dogs. But these dogs born in the 70s, man. You know what I'm saying? We getting the stuff that was bred way down off that stuff. And you may see rascal in the second, third pedigree or whatever, but it's bred down from it. You know, I never had a line bred, inbred rascal dog. I never had a line bred, inbred Bolio dog. You know, it always had something else in it. And they was always using the rascal as a spike, you know, to bring it in. You got an Eli, Eli rascal, Eli Jeep rascal, or Jeep rascal, you know. I had Jeep dogs, Red Boy Jocko dogs, Red Boy dogs, Eli dogs, Chinaman dogs, Frisco dogs. And I call these dogs by their name because these dogs represent their bloodline. You can't say you're going to Garner House all the time and you just gonna get Eli. You gotta represent the dogs for who they are. You got Frisco dogs, you got Chinaman dogs, you got Bobby Peru dogs. You know what I'm saying? You got snooty dogs. If you want to say these dogs got snooty in them and different things, you know what I'm saying? But these dogs, once a dog make a name for himself, that dog is his line, in my opinion. That's why I say all you gotta do is make a name for your dog. You know, make the name for your dog, and that's your bloodline, not your bloodline. That dog himself can be a line of dogs if you made a name for him. It don't matter, make no difference how you make the name for him. You know, you make a name for that dog, his offspring. Okay, these Frisco dogs. You know, uh, you think Garner going by that shit y'all going by? Oh, these Santos dogs, these Frisco dogs, these Chinaman dogs. These are black. These the Pearl dog. I want to say. I forgot what it was called, but these are certain dogs. Then you talk to other brothers, and y'all forget all this stuff. You looking at the famous dog way in the back, 1,000 years ago. You know, and then you kind of hate on brothers because they have the method to start their own line or do what they gotta do with it. You know what I'm saying? And salute to the brother BKK. You know, I always keep that brother name coming out of my mouth when it come to brothers that represent their dogs, because that brother don't give two shits about all that shit from the past. Yeah, he care about it as saying it's in his dog, but he don't care about it as saying that's why he gonna sell his dogs because of all the shit in the past. That's why I always speak that brother name. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you getting damn dog. I just had your dog name on my damn tongue just now. You know what I'm saying? The dog that you be representing, or dogs that you represent. I just had it on my tongue and I forgot it just that fast. But you represent your dogs, fam. You know, and that's what it's about in today's time. These brothers can't take it when somebody represent their dog and they not giving they heroes uh, uh, all the dick riding that they give them. I don't ride dick like you ride dick. So because I don't, you act like I don't know what I'm talking about, or I don't know this, or I don't know that. No, dog. My dogs is my dogs. Mellow Yellow got her own dogs, her own traits. Fletcher them got their own traits. What they throwing out. I'm not. My dogs are Big John and Little John dogs, bred by the original Welcome All brothers and me. Right? But they was the actual line was bred by the original brothers, right? But you know, what my dogs have, the traits they have, you know, it's not saying it's gonna be the same traits that the other brother around the corner got. Now, what I do know is my dog carry traits from the old school dogs, the Yellow John dogs, the Jocko dogs with the rear end, being rear end assassins. You know, I could tell you all that stuff because I seen it, been there, still dealing with the dogs. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's just we just go from there, man. Big shout out to the Hardway Kennels and appreciate you dropping down in the live last night, my brother. Look to see you down there, in the future as well. But what we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna get into this update from the Jackson County dog bust that I gave y'all a few days ago or a week or so ago with the 67 to 70 dogs that got taken. Give y'all an update from the animal shelter and what they're saying about that particular situation. So let's get into that. And I got a little bit more news, and then we're gonna get back into this dog talk, and let y'all brothers and sisters get to y'all Super Bowl. I know y'all ready to get to. So let's get into this Jackson County update.
Rows of kennels filled beyond capacity. This is now the reality at the Jackson County Animal Shelter after 67 dogs rescued from a suspected dogfighting ring ended up at the shelter. And the shelter is past its breaking point. Cody Heister shows us what happens when rescue meets reality.
The barking is deafening at the Jackson County Animal Shelter.
This wasn't something that we expected at all.
Every kennel is full, some holding 2, even 3 dogs after 67 dogs were seized from a suspected fighting ring.
Space-wise, we weren't prepared for 67 animals.
Adoption coordinator Meredy Mallett says the shelter was nearly full when these animals arrived, with many of them needing medical care.
It's a good feeling to get them away from that. They were in terrible conditions, skinny, starving, beaten up, hurt really bad. And most of these dogs are sweet.
But Mallett says some of the dogs were too aggressive to be rehabilitated.
We did have to euthanize some, but it's not as many as everybody thinks. We've got them, they're all comfortable now. Everybody's in good shape as in being fed, watered, and taken care of.
In 12 years as the adoption coordinator, Mallett says this is a situation unlike any she's ever seen.
We had like 30 pit bulls come in over 10 years ago, and that was a court case. And then we had like 72 cats come in one time, but no, not like this.
Mallett says the shelter will have to hold on to these dogs while the dogfighting case is in court. That means the shelter is urgently asking for help from the community to adopt or foster other animals to ease the overcrowding. At some point, Mallett hopes the seized dogs get a second chance at life.
They're wonderful. They're pure of heart. Even the ones that fight, it's not their fault. They're made to do that because people do that.
Now, dogs that knew only violence know something else: hope. In Jackson County, Cody Heister, WLOX.
Now, there's a little bit of news right here coming from. I gave y'all the article when it happened over the past couple of years because this is a ongoing occurrence. They talking about well, I'm just gonna let you get to it. When a dog, two pit bulls. One named Apollo, and I forgot what the other one name was, but they attacked somebody, and they was going off cocaine or something like that. But now the owner in some trouble, and this is a whole bunch of stuff going on. So we're going to get into that article, man, and we'll get back into this dog talk. And to the brother that asked me, did I know about the Australian stuff, Australian bloodlines, or dogs over there, and you asked me about the odd stuff. Like I said, I'm going to give you some information that I got on that, but I did give a news article about the brother from Australia that got jammed up, and we ain't talking about getting jammed up on everything, but the brother from Australia, got jammed up because he was collecting sperm and shipping it across different places, and it was fighting dogs, sperm or whatever, however, I'm not sure how all countries do it, but United States, they got a foothold on transporting, shipping or whatever, fighting dog material, fighting dog stuff, however it go, the dog or the sperm, it don't make no difference. If they know it's for fighting stuff, they got a foothold on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'll get to talking about that as well. And I appreciate you for tuning in to the channel. Like I say, man, a salute to all my people across the world. When I say salute to my United States people, my Mexico brothers, my Mexican brothers, my South American brothers, don't think I'm bullshitting and playing and just talking for my help. Salute to my African brothers, my South African brothers, my African brothers, period. My European brothers, my Ireland brothers and sisters. Salute to all them, damn, man. My Greenland people, my Iceland people, my people in Asia. You know what I'm saying? Salute to all them folk, my Vietnam folk. You know what I'm saying? My folk in the Philippines. I have folk that rock with Pelican Bay all over. You think I'm playing and joking when I say, oh man, them folk in the rural areas, them tribal areas, that ain't living how we living as far as the city and all that. They in the tribal areas. They watching the Pelican Bay. If they love these dogs or they love these pits, they tuned in. You know, they tuned in. That's why I try to get some of my brother's music. You know, I try to get some of my brother's music and say, let me play it on some of my videos. Let me run it in the intros. Let me run it on some of the videos I make. Cause my videos are being seen by people across the world. You know, I just give it to my brothers. But like I said, it ain't my thing to put pressure on these brothers with the music. Cause I see a lot of people want to stay locally famous, locally known, and they cool. Just be known around the block to make a aight song around the block. That's all they want. So I let them stay there, you know. And this ain't that ball game where I'm gonna pressure you to come out here and to the world, you know. So let's get into this article where they talking about the pit bulls on cocaine and the brother want to use Narcan to get the dogs back right. The back legs ain't moving no more. Let's get into that and we get back into this dog stuff.
Have you ever been exposed to your drugs before?
No, but...
The day, September 27th, 2024, 3 weeks before pit bulls Apollo and Echo got loose and killed their next-door neighbor, 73-year-old Joanne Eckelbarger. Asheville police are looking to arrest dog owner Adam Withers, who just admitted to taking cocaine. Officers believed Apollo and Echo were exposed to the drugs, too. Neither could move their back legs.
I'm just going to be honest with you, your dogs are probably going to die.
Can you do Narcan or something?
Not Narcan a dog.
Instead, police called the Pickaway County dog warden.
I don't know what you want me to do. Dog warden won't come out.
And then took Apollo back home themselves.
Oh, you're heavy.
When the on-call deputy warden would not come out and take the dogs.
Your reporting was excellent on that. It's the timeline. When you look at the timeline, there's so many questions that get raised when you realize how preventable it was.
Spencer Meter is the lawyer who filed the wrongful death lawsuit against Adam Withers, Pickaway County, dog warden Preston Schumacher, Eckelbarger's condo association, and more on behalf of her family.
The next words we heard were, "We did everything we could, but we couldn't save your mom."
However, the suit added the name of a new defendant just last month, Wyatt Coleman, the deputy dog warden who refused to seize Adam Withers' dogs at the request of Asheville police during the September 2024 call. This is a civil lawsuit. Coleman is not facing any criminal charges.
They have to come out here and be like, it's not a choice. They have to go get these dogs or lose because he's going to be charged.
More than a year later, I tried to contact Wyatt Coleman at the address listed in his personnel file.
Place my card.
No one has called me in return. But in that file I obtained from Pickaway County, more concern to the timeline which led up to Eckelbarger's death. After the county hired Coleman in 2020, he received 4 written reprimands in 4 months in 2023. He was caught texting on the clock, using very offensive language, and failed to complete a required bite report when called out by the sheriff's office. Coleman's reasoning, he didn't think the bite actually occurred. The county also found Coleman wasn't using sound judgment on other aggressive dog calls, which placed everyone in danger. Then in August of 2023, a year before Echo Berger's death, Coleman served a 3-day suspension for refusing to pick up 2 stray dogs when called by the sheriff's office. One of the strays had been hit by a car and was laying dead on the road. The deputy had to take both dogs back to the sheriff's office.
Has anything changed? No. Have they learned anything, in my opinion? No.
Scoot over, Bubba.
And after I exposed this last February that the dog warden failed to come out to this run 5 months earlier.
This is 2 weeks after a judge ordered the dogs be removed from the home.
Chief Dog Warden Preston Schumacher started an investigation 1 day after my report. He writes he did not become aware of Deputy Warden Coleman's failure to respond to the first 2 calls for assistance until Friday, February 14th. He notified the commissioner's office that same day. On February 25th, 5 months after Withers' drug arrest, 4 months after Echo Berger's death, but a week and a half after my report.
The dog warden tells me the county's plan to seize dogs in cases like this has not been discussed or reviewed.
Pickaway County terminated Deputy Dog Warden Wyatt Coleman due to neglect of duty, inefficiency, and violation of policy.
You just wonder why people just chose not to do their jobs.
What we have right now, it doesn't work.
See, when I was talking about Crossroad and I was talking about how the situation went down when he got busted and all that, and I didn't think he was gonna do certain things with me, but it ended up setting me up. Like, the only thing that really saved me back in them days from maybe going to prison was the fact that the Iraq war had started. And the officer that was on my case, he was in the Marines. And he was over there fighting in Fallujah when my lawyer said, let's go to trial, let's go to court. Let's take us a plea right now. He can't come. He can't come to trial. The solicitor know he can't come. The brothers, both of them, matter of fact, the main officer that was on my case and the one that helped him, both of them was in Fallujah, and I wrote about that in my first book, not my pit bull book, but my regular biography book. I wrote about that. I gave him a special shout out because that officer was what they call RoboCop in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? If everybody got RoboCop police officers, the ones that run faster than the average. They're gonna do more than what the average, jumping out the bushes, arresting you. He was that RoboCop fella, but he got ambushed in Fallujah and lost his life in an ambush. Now my case was over before that ambush happened. I wish no bad on nobody. This was saying, I'm glad that it ain't none of that shit. That was a real mishap. You know what I'm saying? That was a real mishap. His family lost a great man. His son lost a great father. The wife lost a great husband. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I was going through back in them days, and this was during that Crossroad era. I got caught with a 9mm on my hip, 16-shot Beretta, fully loaded, one in the head that I got from Crossroad. Luckily the gun wasn't stolen, so I didn't get a stolen gun charge. It was one of his homeboys' gun that he wanted to get rid of. When I got caught with it, they gave me PTI for it. I got PTI for it, which was pretrial intervention, which you go to that and you can get it cleared off your record. I got kicked out of PTI for trying to take my officer on a date. She was pretty as hell. I tried to holler at her, and then next thing you know, 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a letter that said, matter of fact, I'm gonna take that back. I tried to holler at her, and then I pissed dirty. It wasn't just the holler at part. I pissed dirty, and I got a letter in the mail saying your case has been reprimanded sent back to to courts, and I had to go back to court all over again. And I ended up paying a pay fine for the gun, which I felt like was better for me because I just paid a fine and forfeit the gun, gave the state the gun, and paid a $500 pay fine. I'd rather have did that than go to that PTI shit. Had to do community service with that, had to stay clean with that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's just some of the stuff I went through with the dog brothers, stuff with dog community. You know what I'm saying? Back in them days. And it just, it just is what it is. You learn from stuff and you just use it you know, as a learning, as a stepping stool. You just use it as a lesson, you know, and keep it going, man. So, like I said, I ain't gonna keep y'all brothers and sisters here too long, man. I just wanted to speak about some of this stuff when it comes to these dogs. And you know, I know it's Super Bowl Sunday. So, you know, like I told y'all before, I hope y'all betting on the right team. Ain't gonna lose too much money out there. It's your boy PBK9s. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay legal. Oh, let me say this before I get up out of here. This litters that I got now with these pits, this is gonna probably be the last litter that I'm breeding this year. I'm not worrying about breeding no dogs for the rest of the year. I'm focused on my podcast because I'm making thousands off my podcast. I'm not about to sit here and worry about puppies when I'm already making thousands at my job. Yeah, that's extra money is good. You know what I'm saying? But I get paid to talk about dogs, you know. So it just is what it is, man. It is what it is. This is most likely gonna be my last litter. When my next litter come, it'll probably be most likely it's gonna be towards either the end part of the year or it's gonna be next year sometime after these puppies that I got get grown and become grown dogs and make a name for them. Cause I'm gonna make a name for this new batch of puppies coming out. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna hear and know about all of them. All of them gonna have their own haters. Mellow Yellow got her haters. Fletcher got his haters. You know what I'm saying? And the ones that's coming up under them gonna have their haters. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay legal. And remember where you got it from first. The PBC, it's your boy PBK9s, and we out of here.
Now what's this gonna be?